My name is Renda Writer, and this is the Venom Vision. And I'm standing right now in front of one of my murals for the World Peace Mural Tour. As you can see, it just says World Peace over and over and over. I've done 48 murals just like this all over the United States and Mexico. It's all part of this thing I call the World Peace Mural Tour, which is an endless tour. It's endless. There's no goal as far as the number of murals or anything like that. My goal is to do these murals for the rest of my life, whatever that may be, 1,000, 2,000. Just spread the message, because I believe in the power of words. I believe in the power of repetition. I believe in energy. I believe that everything has energy, and especially words. So this is kind of like my way of writing it into existence. I believe that you could write things into existence. You could speak things into existence. I've been doing murals for like 3.5 years. But it was just last year that I realized if I'm going to keep doing murals that are handwritten words, then I might as well pick something that I can focus on, that I really want to see manifest as something that is very universal. So that's kind of when I decided on the idea of doing world peace, and I just haven't stopped since. And I've done them all over this summer. I spent 3 months on the road. I did 15 murals from Miami to LA and back. And this is one of my earlier murals. I think this is like number 12 or 13. And I did this for Art Basel last year. And it's right in the heart of the Wynwood Art District, which is, known all over the world as like the place for street art. So we are standing in front of my mural that says, "I am love." I hand wrote the phrase, "I am love," about 500,000 times. It took me about a week, about 100 hours to do it. And this is kind of actually a remake of an older mural. I did a mural on this very wall back in 2014. It was my first mural ever. But then they renovated the building, and so I renovated the mural. So the way that I got started in doing murals and doing art really just goes back to my first love, which was poetry. I started doing poetry in 2000, doing spoken word, performing at open mic nights and poetry nights all throughout New York City. Then I moved to Florida, and I was doing poetry all over South Florida, and did that for many years. But I guess it was around 2012 that a lot of things in my life changed, a lot of things that were sort of out of my control, whatever, just like circumstantial stuff shifted, and I found myself in a place where I felt like nothing made sense anymore. And so that's why oftentimes when people ask me why I started doing art, I look back at 2012 and I say, I started making art when everything else stopped making sense. And so that's usually how I explain it, because in 2012, everything stopped making sense to me. And the only way that I knew how to make sense out of my life and the world on the whole was through art. And making art was just an extension of my love for words, which was always in me, and which I first manifested through poetry. But so 2012, I started doing visual art. I started doing found object art, writing poetry and phrases and mantras and limericks and little things all over pieces of garbage that I found on the streets. And then from there, I moved on. I started doing canvases, and then I started doing murals. Then I self-published a book, and I just kept going. But basically, all of the art I do comes down to just my love for the word. When I was in Dallas, I did a mural in Dallas, a world peace mural. And I bumped into some wires like that, and I got electrocuted and thrown off the ladder, and I fell like 20 feet. And I lived. But I hurt myself bad. I hurt my wrist, I scratched up my knees, I scratched up my legs, my arms. But I got electrocuted, like a full body electrocution. It was quite an experience. And then 20 minutes later, I was back up. And that's how I do most of my murals, just like a straight shot. I don't like to spread them out over 2 days or 3 days. I like to just start and finish. And if it takes 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, I just go. So when it comes to goals, I feel like my main goal I've already reached. I'm living it. Back in 2012, when I first started making art, like I said earlier, I made art, or I started making art because everything else stopped making sense. So my goal in making art was to make sense out of my life and the world. And my goal was just to be happy and make a living making art. And now I'm doing it. So I've reached my number one goal. But I'm not going to just rest on that. So I've got more goals, and basically my whole life is driven by the setting of goals. Some are more general, some are more specific. But now that I'm doing the World Peace Mural Tour, it's given me a lot of focus to make more specific goals. So one of my goals is to become recognized by the United Nations as a United Nations peacekeeper. And another goal of mine is to get recognized by Yoko Ono. Yoko Ono has this thing called the Lennon Ono Peace Artist Grant, where she recognizes 6 artists every year and gives them $50,000, and she gives it to artists that work under the banner of peace. So those are 2 very specific goals that I want to reach, and hopefully I'll reach both of them within the next like 3 or 4 years. And then of course another goal is just to continue doing murals, and I want to do at least another 2 or 3 countries by 2018. So that's another goal of mine. But in general, my goal has always just been to be happy and do my art, and I'm just happy to say that I've reached that goal and I'm living it. And so now my goal is to show others that it can be done. I mean, not just art, but reaching goals, being happy is really quite easy. It's a matter of focus, and it's a matter of allowing too. It's not as hard as you might think. The hard part is realizing that it's easy. That's what I think. That, you know, the hard part that most people have a hard time digesting is realizing how easy it is to reach your goals by just allowing it to come to you, attracting it rather than chasing it.